Want to learn a sexy, simple pastime to incorporate into your DS dynamic? Then try cockwarming, the act of placing a penis inside a partner's mouth, vagina, or anus without the intention of thrusting. I'm Brandon the Dom. Let's dive in. So previously, I talked about some aggressive oral sex in another video that I'll leave the link down below. However, not every single act needs to be high dominance and super aggressive. In fact, subtle acts can be just as powerful. Welcome to the simple but intimate act of cockwarming, where you basically keep your cock warm in somebody else's mouth, anus, or vagina, usually without movement or thrusting. Although cockwarming doesn't have to be practiced with dominance and submission to be enjoyable, it can be particularly fulfilling in that context. While cockwarming can be incorporated into sex before, after, or during, the essence of the act is one person engaging in a non-sexual activity, such as relaxing, reading a book, watching TV, while the other person services that person's cock in a semi-sexual way, but not overtly sexual. I'm going to talk about some ways to engage in this type of play. But first, let's talk about why do people enjoy cockwarming. For such a simple act, there's actually a wide variety of reasons that people enjoy it. We just touched on earlier, it's an expression of dominance and submission, because for the dominant partner, being serviced while you're attending to something else can feel really powerful. You basically don't have to lift a finger, and you have enough control over your submissive that this act can be performed without force. And for the submissive, the sole purpose for them in that moment is to follow orders, to be of service, and basically act as a vessel for their partner's pleasure. However, there's also other reasons, like intimacy. Similar to cuddling, and cockwarming can be done while cuddling, this act can feel deeply intimate and foster a strong sense of emotional connection, especially when done for extended periods of time. For the submissive, it can also help them reach a state of mindfulness. When they're focusing solely on the cock inside them, it can soothe anxiety, create a sense of calm, and quiet their racing thoughts. It's also an act of service, even more so than a sexual act. So for those that enjoy giving or receiving acts of service, it can be highly rewarding to engage in this. There might also be a little bit of teasing and denial, because a submissive that's eager to escalate cockwarming into sex may find it a little torturous to remain still while there's a cock inside her, which will obviously heighten arousal for both of them. There also may be humiliation or degradation at play, because the dominant could completely ignore the submissive while they are cockwarming. It starts to introduce a little bit of humiliation or degradation. And of course, any submissive that has an oral fixation, they might just simply enjoy having a cock in their mouth. And of course, last but not least, it feels really good. So now let's talk about how to perform cockwarming. There's basically three types of cockwarming. There's vaginal cockwarming, where the penis is left in the vagina for as long as both partners are comfortable. And you're not really thrusting, you're just resting there together. If you're in a very comfortable position, say spooning, you might even be able to fall asleep like that. There's also anal cockwarming, which if you're going to engage in that, you definitely need lube, because the anus does not create its own lubricant. And penetrating it dry is going to feel very uncomfortable and could cause injury. So the penis should be gently slid in and then again remain there as long as both people are comfortable. Now the last one, oral cockwarming, is actually a little easier to do than the other two, because the cock, whether it's flaccid or erect, is just placed inside the other partner's mouth and held there. There's no sucking, there's no licking, there's no thrusting involved. It's just held in that person's mouth. It's not a blowjob, and it's not face fucking. And no one is actively trying to make the penis hard, keep it hard, or induce orgasm. Again, the cock is just held in the mouth for as long as both partners are comfortable. So you can see this is more about comfort and being an act of service rather than it is about the sexual act of it. So with those in mind, let's talk about how you could put this into practice. As always, remember your goal. Why are you including this in your play? What is your intention behind it? Is it part of slave training? Is it an act of service? Maybe it's a form of punishment, or maybe it's just a simple pleasurable pastime for both of you to connect. As with any kinky act, understand what your goal is. Next, let's talk about when to do cockwarming. One of the beautiful things about cockwarming, and one of the reasons that it's particularly appealing to me, is that it can be done at almost any time within reason, obviously. It can allow couples to enjoy pleasure and reinforce their dynamic even in the most simplest mundane tasks, with little effort on the dominance part. So some ways that you can enjoy cockwarming is a fun way to start your day, sort of like a morning ritual, while working on your computer at your desk. Who doesn't love a little bit of under the desk support? You can do it while sitting on the couch, watching a movie, reading a book. You can do it while talking on the phone, while folding the laundry, while driving, while passively playing with your partner's body. You can also do it before sex, sort of as a game to see who can last longer before they get too worked up and want to have sex with the other partner. Or you could do it after sex as part of aftercare and just soothe and connect and come back down. You could also do it with one person sitting on the other partner's lap. And if you're feeling really bold, you can also do it at kink events or a public play party while talking with other attendees, just having your submissive there down on her knees and still holding a conversation with everyone else. Literally, just pick any activity, put the cock in a hole, and you could be cockwarming. Now let's talk about how long you can be performing cockwarming. The short answer, you should already know, is as long as both people are comfortable. For oral cockwarming over extended periods of time, make sure that the submissive who has the cock in her mouth isn't experiencing cramping or jaw pain from being in that position for a long time. Similarly, for vaginal and anal cockwarming, make sure that everything stays well lubricated. The actual real challenge in doing cockwarming over extended periods of time is resisting the urge to turn it into full-on sex. And the cock is most likely to cycle through stages of being erect and flaccid and to go through each of those, which is absolutely completely normal. If you actually manage to do cockwarming for a long period of time, you might find that both partners' genitals are much more heightened and sensitive. So for the person that has the vagina, that could mean that they have an easier time of having multiple orgasms. In oral cockwarming, some submissives, particularly those that have an oral fixation, might have an easier time of reaching subspace by doing cockwarming. So what I recommend is try 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, and then, just keep going as long as you two would like. Now let's talk about a few tips for the submissive who is engaging in cockwarming. The first tip is actually to ask permission. For someone who loves to receive acts of service, do you know what's incredibly hot? Approaching the dominant, asking to cockwarm them, receiving approval from them, and unzipping their pants without them having to lift a finger. That is hot to see your submissive do. My second major tip is to focus. Center your attention on the cock inside you. As it's inside you, focus on its weight, its texture, its heat, and notice each fluctuation in size and shape as your dominance arousal shifts. This is going to help you to possibly reach subspace more and to have a more enjoyable experience with it. So that's cockwarming. For such a simple act, cockwarming can actually be a powerful act of dominance and submission, even though that it's far tamer than its aggressive counterpart of face fucking. Cockwarming can be incorporated into rituals or protocol, or simply enjoyed as a pleasurable pastime between each partner. Now, if you're interested in that more aggressive version of what to do with a cock in your mouth, I recommend checking out the face fucking video, and I run you through how to engage in that safely and pleasurably. So check out that video, and thank you so much for your time and attention.